All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's a sunny day. We actually recorded one podcast right before this one, and I said it was cloudy, but Seattle doesn't like to stay in one place too long, and it is now a sunny day, and I am super excited because we have Brian with us today. This is a repeat guest. We love getting updates on our previous guest. Brian Grimes is from the East Coast. He is a developer and has done over 300 renovations. So I am super excited to jump into this. Brian, all the way from Philly. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. Doing good. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me back.
All right. Yeah, no problem. I told you, same format we're sticking with on this podcast. For people who didn't hear your first episode, take us back to the beginning of your story. How'd you get started in real estate?
I mean, I would say like the aha moment was I was in college. I had a buddy of mine who was a little older than me who had graduated, and we would talk all the time. I mean, one of my closest friends, and we're at like a college bar, and he just pulls out a knot of like 20s, and he's like, "Drinks are on me," and I'm like, "Where'd you get all that from?" And he's like, "Real estate, man. It's
He's
the
just
first of
carrying
the month."
around
Yeah,
cash.
he's
This
just
is
living
how
the
we do
dream.
it.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I think I need some of that. So I kind of knew that I wanted to get into the real estate game. And when I graduated and started working as a financial planner, 100% commission, I'm like making no money, but everything that I'm making, I'm trying to like save and put in a separate account to invest in real estate. And he's telling me the whole time, when you get your first check, it's going to transform you. When you get your first like rent check, because at first you go through this mindset that you don't believe you can be the person to get that rental income. You're like, I know people pay their mortgage, they pay their rent, but they ain't going to pay me. And I still remember he's like, you're going to race to the bank. Watch, just call me when you're speeding to the bank after you get that first check. So I can still remember putting my hand out, and that first tenant put in like 2,500 cash in my hand. And at this point, I made like 10 grand in a year of working 100% commission. And I'm just speeding to the bank, like calling him like, man, this is crazy. It's
You were
real.
right.
And yeah, exactly. And I just never looked back. But it was really that aha moment of seeing a friend having success with it, and believing like I could do that too if my buddy can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that I feel like that happens for all of us. Anybody who
Yeah.
is starting out in real estate is like, we really don't believe it can be us. You might have heard 1,000 people on Bigger Pockets on this podcast talk about their success, say that they had these rentals, they've done these flips successfully, but you never really believe, at least for me, I didn't believe it could happen for me until I actually
Yeah.
did. And I feel like I've heard that story so many times. So it's I feel like the lesson there for people just starting out is you're not going to believe it until you do it. So just get out there and get it done.
Yeah, you just got to get that first one out of the way. The first one, once you do one deal, you could do 100. You
Yep.
just have to do the same thing over and over again. So definitely, but it will work for you. It works for anybody who will follow those action steps. It'll work for.
Yep. Yep. For sure. And you've done over 300 at this point, or at the point where you wrote this. So I'm sure it's more right now.
Yeah.
So you figured out the scale, which is great. I mean, once you get that first one done, it's a breath of fresh air. You're like, I can figure it out. But now the mountain in front of you is scaling. So how did you go
Yeah.
from that first deal to the 300 that you've done?
Yeah. I tell people the biggest hack in real estate investing is really virtual assistants and building a team.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about like, think for basketball fans, like you think about Michael Jordan, like who's the GOAT? It's Michael Jordan. He could beat any team. He can do this, that, and a third. But could he go 1 against 5 and beat another team in a championship? Of course not, because it's the strength of the team. But as investors, we think of ourselves as like these Superman individual solopreneurs who will go out, and some people even take it so far as to stand in the house themselves with a hammer and try to like build the house themselves, and they think that that's how they're going to save and get ahead. And
That
somebody like
was
me
me.
comes
That was
along.
me on my first flip. I
Yeah,
went out there and did the work and
yeah,
never
because
again.
exactly, you'd only need to do that once, but you watch HGTV and you think you're going to be Property Brothers and get it done. And somebody like me comes along with 40 virtual assistants and 100 contractors and a team and just does 40 deals in the time it takes you to do one. And the lesson is just that you can do a lot more. As an individual, you might even burn out, but if you have a team, they're going to keep running. The machine will keep cranking because it's a part of that ecosystem. And that is the way to hit scale, is to just build systems that allow other people, some people who are smarter than you at certain tasks or better than you, to now be a part of that machine. And you can do a lot more with the right systems and the right people.
Yep, for sure. So let's dive into that. Let's go a little bit deeper. I mean, systems is the way to scale. It is how you build your business. So take us from that first deal you did. You know, you got that check. You're like, holy
Yeah.
shit, this does work. How did you get from that first check to now being able to do multiple deals at once?
Yeah, so it all started, I think where it started to accelerate is when you first get started, you're in this parking capital mindset. So you saved up money to do your first deal. So you're of the mindset that in order to do deals, I have to save up large sums of money to put down on them. So you do that maybe 2 or 3 times. And I did too. I FHA house hacked my first one. I put down 30% on a duplex the next time. Then I said, there's got to be a little bit of a better way here. So I started to learn about the BRRRR strategy and full gut renovation. I went out and bought a property in Baltimore, spent 6 months almost gut renovating that one, even though it was supposed to be cosmetic. And that's a lesson as well. There are no real cosmetic deals, not until you become advanced enough to tell the difference. And then I got inspired by a guy this guy was buying properties from the sheriff's sale for like $4,000, running in them, blowing them up, blowing the back of the house off, building back into the lot, blowing the roof off, building up a level. And he had like maybe 500 views on his YouTube channel. Like it was nothing there, but the confidence was just pouring out of this guy. Like he's just like, no problem. He's opening the door for the first time. The roof's caved in. He's just like, this is a layup. And you're like, wait, what? So, but the confidence was attractive. So I was like, I need that confidence. I don't need the money. I don't need I need that confidence, because with that confidence, I can make $1 million off of that confidence. If I could just open a door and see this and not even be phased. So I got into full gut renovation. I bought a burnout, a tear down, and a full shell on one block, a couple of blocks away from a major university, LaSalle University in Philly, that I used to attend. I played basketball there for a year. And that's the national alert system. Yeah, we all got that. And you know, getting into that full gut renovation, I had a lot go wrong. I had a contractor run off with 40K. I, had to figure out how the guts of a project works. But in doing that, that was what allowed me to scale, was getting into true development where you can break a house down and then put it back together. There's enough of a profit spread in that where you can truly scale it with hard money lenders and construction lenders, because you can now bring contractors in house. You have enough work to build a team and then line up deals ahead of them and start working through. And as you do that, you can then scale up the size of the team. And as you scale that, you scale the amount of deals you're doing, and the lenders will scale with you. And that is the key to scale, is having something where there's enough profitability in the deal to support a rehab crew. Yep. That is like key number one to getting to scale.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean, I feel like when you're just getting started, you're focused on each individual deal and how do I spin up a crew around this one deal. But it really comes down, I mean, you got to get the volume. You got to try to get more deals in the pipeline so that, right, I mean, you have the cash flow, you have the income coming in for you to be able to support a bigger system, which will allow you to take on more deals, do more deals. But that all comes down to feeding that system. So how do you go about finding the deals?
Yeah, finding the deals, it's really what I found is that speed kills in the market. So you have to think who you're competing against. It's a lot of mom and pop investors who are still working the 9 to 5. So what issues are they facing? Well, they can't get out to see the deal until the weekend. They're trying to invest out of town, but they don't have the systems, the resources. So I just put what I call like a boots on the ground system in place. I have a guy on the ground who can go out, inspect houses, shoot videos, get back to me with information, coordinate them with the realtor. and just I work in volume across the board. I believe in deal abundance, that mindset versus scarcity. A lot of us work in a scarcity mindset. So we're in a market, like you could be in the Washington market and you're like, oh, there's not enough deals. Where do I go? There's got to be some shortcut. How do I get the off market deals? Those are the best. Look everywhere, off market, on market. 91% of the deals that move in America move on the MLS. So you have to look on market, but the best deals go on and off the market in 24 to 48 hours. So if you're not looking daily, if you don't have a system that allows you to get into any deal the same day it is posted and get like a full inspection, do analysis and get an offer out, you're going to miss the best deals because somebody like me has that system and can then do it. So that is kind of how I do it. Is I'm just hyper aggressive with deal analysis. I'll review 100 properties a week to get out 4 or 5 offers. Realistically, inspect 10, get out 4 or 5 offers. And if you keep doing that, my biggest year, I locked up 153 deals in a year.
Damn, 153. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
So, I mean, 153, it's hard to find that many. And it's also hard to, finance that many. It's hard to get the systems in place to, finish the construction. So, let's just kind of take it piece by piece. After you find the deal, first, how do you quickly create an offer price? How do you figure out what you're going to offer on the property, within 24 hours so you can make that offer?
So the more you do gut renovation, the more you understand the cost of construction. So you can look at a deal if you have the ability and the crew to take a deal down to the studs, down to the 4 walls, there's almost nothing that can go wrong, right? What else is going to happen at that point? So you can now price in a deal to say, well, it's going to cost me $120,000 to put it back together. Because I know that because I've done it 20 times now at this point. So now if I can buy it for 50 and put in 120 and it's going to be worth 300, I have a deal spread. So now I just need to push. I need to identify every deal that fits that parameter and go after them aggressively. As soon as they hit the market, I'm on them because I already know what the renovation cost is. I know what the after repair value is because I know how to think like an appraiser. I've dealt with 30, 40 appraisals at this point. So I kind of have all of the information. As you keep going in this game, you start solving off variables. So once you solve those variables, it really is just like putting together a Lego set at the end of the day. The lenders are going to line up. The values are what they are. The contractors are going to do what they do. And you just need to find the deals that fit that parameter. So it really is finding them and then negotiating down to the profit price point.
Yeah. Do you prefer gut renovations over cosmetic or mid-tier renovations?
It's a tough question because it's like, what I don't prefer is it depends on where you're doing a renovation because you might be in a city where the permit process is so slow and so annoying and so obnoxious that
Seattle.
Getting into somewhere like that, or New York, or some of these different cities where it's like it takes a year and a half to get a permit, like just because I'm moving a staircase. So you have to factor that in. Like, how long is it going to take you to do this gut renovation, and is it worth it? And how much faster can you do a cosmetic deal? Because you would think of it like two restaurants across the street from each other. We're both competitors, but I can get food out of that kitchen because I have a condensed menu in 30 minutes and I'm turning tables in an hour and a half. They come sit down, they eat, they're out. So in the same night, if it takes you an hour to get the food out because you have a big menu and people are staying for 3 hours per meal, I'm turning tables 4 or 5 times a night. You're turning them twice. I'm making more money than you every day because I'm moving faster. So I'm looking at like the cosmetics might allow me to do 20 deals a quarter, 30 deals a quarter, where the gut renovations is like 10. Now, the gut renovations can be profitable, but it just depends. It's tough. So I don't really have a preference these days. I will say when you're first getting started, gut renovations shockingly can be easier to budget for because when you try to go cosmetic, you don't know enough when you're just getting started. So you think you can save those walls. Hey, that's really good wall panel. No, it's not. Hey, that wiring looks good. It ain't good. Like they hacked it together. And then when you start getting into a gut renovation by default, that's how you go 50K over budget. And that's what kills most new investors. So most new investors should stay away from thinking that they understand what a cosmetic renovation even looks like. You need to be with somebody who's an experienced developer who can point out those little wrinkles to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. Me and a buddy, the first flip that we did, we ended up making. We spent like 6 months on this thing, and we made like $30,000. So between the two of
Yeah.
us, we made like 15,000 each. It sucked,
Yeah.
but it was just like that. There were so many things that we didn't realize were wrong
Just
with the
don't know.
property that
Hmm.
once you got into the walls, there's things wrong. The piping was wrong. The electrical was wrong. We
Yeah.
had to lift the entire foundation up. It was a nightmare,
Ease.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. If you do renovations or gut renovations, it is the unknown is much easier to handle because you're taking it out. You're going down to the studs.
You're taking it out.
It's a lot easier to understand. And I
Yeah.
like the analogy you used about the restaurant. If you have a
Yeah.
condensed menu, you turn quicker, and I'm sure the supply chain, everything is a lot easier if you have a smaller menu versus a larger one. Um,
Yeah.
Same applies to real estate. So, good
Yeah.
analogy. We are running down the clock, so I do need to move us on. But before we go to the quick question round, I got to ask, what are you guys doing today, and what's your goals for the future?
I mean, we're kind of like the main things to keep the main thing the main thing. So we're doing more or less the same. Gut renovations, we're doing Section 8, we're doing co-living, we're doing flip deals. One thing that's really cool that just happened, because I do a lot in Philly and I build houses for a lot of my mentees in Philly. So people from all over the country, some people from outside of the country even. And the rents just inflated on Section 8, which is like affordable housing, voucher based housing where the government pays the rent. They just inflated 30 to 60% across the board overnight.
Wow, Jesus.
Because yeah, it's crazy. Because Section 8, they have a guideline that they drop every year, October 1st. So they just dropped the October 1st, 2023. And this is what nobody is really talking about yet because it's just happening. Everybody's like doom and gloom on real estate. Oh, the rates are higher, the carrying costs are crazy, you can't make cash flow anymore. But they're not thinking that as prices and carrying costs go up, it's part because of inflation. Rents also go up because of inflation. So now you're seeing some of the affordable housing sector is starting to inflate rents to support the bottom side of the market. That's how you prevent the top side from collapsing. So because landlords can't cash flow, they're accepting less affordable housing tenants. So the affordable housing divisions have to increase their rents. So in Philly, they just jacked them up 30 to 60%. So the properties that we were looking at for our clients that were only cash flowing $250 a month per door are like 600, 700, 800, 900 a door now, like
Oh wow,
overnight.
that's
And this
awesome.
is why I tell people don't sit on the sidelines with real estate. Stay in the game because those opportunities, those windows open up. And if you're not ready, then you have to sit there while everybody eats your lunch.
Yep. Yeah, you just got to keep going, especially when it gets hard, because that's when a lot of people drop out. And if
That's when they
if
quit.
you're still standing at the end of that, then you get to take advantage of what's left over. So
Yeah,
love to hear that. It is time to move on to the quick question round. Are you ready?
let's do it.
Let's do it. Starts with books or any form of education. Give me two recommendations: one for general life wisdom, one for real estate or business specific.
One for general life wisdom. I'll put The Richest Man in Babylon for like just well-rounded financial advice, like what you should do with your money, how to make your money work for you. I think that that's a good one. It's probably a toss up between that and I like the 50th law of power, which there are the 48 laws of power, but then 50 Cent did a spinoff for the
That's so
50th
funny.
law of power, which is fearlessness.
Okay.
And that one
Is
is
it with
really
what's the
yeah,
guy's name?
yeah.
Robert Greene?
Robert Greene, yeah, it's
Yeah,
with Robert Greene,
that's
and it's
funny.
the 50th law. It's really cool. It's a good book, great principles, and 50 Cent is he's very entertaining. He has like two books, and they're very good, but that's one of them. And for real estate, I like the Section 8 Bible. There's versions 1, 2, and 3, and it's two guys from South Philly who partnered up and built 400 houses in like 5 years. And I patterned myself off of them.
That's
They did
crazy.
this in like the early 2000s, and I patterned everything off of them, and actually went out to do 300 plus myself with that strategy. So I definitely recommend that. When I started, it was version 1, but now they have volume 1, 2, and 3, so they're
Nice.
all good.
There you go. And that's why, if there's especially in real estate, it's everything's already been done. So if you want to get into it, just go find a blueprint that works for you and then follow that
Yeah,
blueprint. You can improve on it yourself, but don't try to reinvent the wheel, because the wheel is very, very known in real estate. So
yeah,
yep, love to hear that. And Richest Man in Babylon, I read that when I was in my mid 20s, so it was later in my life. Still a good
yeah.
book, but I wish I had read it earlier. And I'm gonna
Even
give it to
earlier.
my daughter when she's you know old, in her teens, and hopefully that message can resonate with her. All right, next question is for your younger self. So let's go back to the Brian who was just got his first check for that first property he bought. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
My biggest piece of advice is, don't, when you just get started, you think you need to partner with someone. Everybody wants to partner. And my biggest piece of advice is go at it alone, walk your own path, but get mentorship.
Mm.
Mentorship is better than partnership, because partnership, if you partner with somebody long term, they're taking away 50% of your profits in perpetuity. Mentorship, you can get all of that knowledge, all the advice, all the referrals and references and everything that you're looking for, the contractors, the connections, without having somebody in your pocket long term. So bet on yourself. When you're just getting started, you don't believe enough in yourself. Bet on yourself, bet on your education. If you're going to do anything, get mentorship. Stay away from the school of hard knocks. The school of hard knocks is 100 times more expensive than mentorship, not 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Mentorship could be $5,000. Hard knocks, you're going to lose $500,000 trying to figure this game out.
Yeah. Yeah. We've said that so many times on this podcast. You can learn, it's just amazing how much you can learn from watching somebody do something, or doing it alongside them. So if you're new to this game, if you're new to real estate, uh, even if you don't want to partner, you can invest as a limited partner in somebody's deals and just watch them run the deal.
Definitely.
You can lend out money to people and then ask if you can, be by their side while they're running the deal. There's so many different ways to go out there and learn from the people who already have the experience, and that is the education that you really need. There's only so much you can learn from podcasts, even though we try to give as much value as we can here.
Yeah,
But you really got to learn from somebody who's doing it.
definitely.
All right, next question is about your business. The people we work with form the foundation of our business. So, what were the first three positions you hired, and would you do it differently if you did it again today?
The first 3 people were a deal analyst, a which is somebody who will sit behind the computer and source deals for you and run comps and put together rehab budgets. The second position was kind of a boots on the ground inspector, somebody who can just run in and shoot videos and look at deals for you and give you that physical presence, even if you're investing out of town. And the third was like a leasing agent, somebody who can show properties and deal with tenants and answer the phone and send out contractors to handle property maintenance. So kind of like a leasing agent slash property maintenance professional. And no, I would do it in that order, because that is the order of the real estate. It's, you want to have somebody who can help you to find deals, then you want to have somebody who can help you manage the rehab project, and then you want someone who can help you to monetize the asset and tenant and manage the tenants long term. So those are the definitely the key 3 that you need to fill, and there's a lot in between there too.
Perfect. All right, next question is about the U.S. It's a big place, a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single city you are most excited about investing in today.
I mean, right now it's Philly, man, especially with 30 to 60% rent inflation. I think it's a blue ocean. I feel like I'm back in 2011, to put it in perspective for you, somebody else who's been in the game for a while. I feel like it's like going back 10 years and seeing the cash flow where it's like, hey, you could throw a rock at any property and hit cash flow. So I'm really excited about the Philadelphia market right now. I think it offers a lot of opportunity. Second would be Baltimore. Third would be Cleveland, because it's cheap property prices, high rents, low property taxes, which equals cash flow.
There you go. Interesting you say Cleveland. I've heard a lot of people kind of not badmouth Cleveland, but say that it's more of a rougher place to invest in.
Oh, it's definitely
You
right.
have Okay, but you still
Yeah,
feel like there's a lot of opportunity out there. It's a place that you want to invest in.
When there's blood in the streets, buy the real estate.
There you go.
There's truth to that. Not like in a literal sense, but when people are afraid of a location, here's what I tell people: in any good neighborhood, there's a bad pocket. In any bad neighborhood, there's a good pocket. So your job when C-class investing is to find the better pockets, the up and coming pockets in the rougher neighborhoods. This is where gentrification happens, right? It doesn't happen in nice neighborhoods. You don't gentrify a nice neighborhood. You go into a rougher neighborhood and you buy for pennies on a dollar, and then that property value triples in value over the course of 4 or 5 years. That's where you can get those big returns. And as a new investor, as new money who's trying to build new wealth, that's how you're going to build it, is by putting your money where it goes further and then hanging on to those properties for 10, 15 years so they can appreciate.
Yep. I will put a caveat on that one. If we buy self-storage facilities, and if you're buying in an area that you don't know too well, make sure you partner with someone, even if it's just a local property manager or somebody who knows the area a lot better, so they can guide you on the specific areas of that market. Because some areas, even if the market as a whole is appreciating and it looks like it's doing well, even in those markets, there are pockets, like you said, that are not to be trifled with, and they'll screw you over. So watch out, it's hyper local area. Make sure you understand where you're investing, because things can definitely pop up and bite you.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next question is about your strengths. Everyone is gifted with a gift that we uniquely provide this world. So what is your Superman strength?
Building systems that don't break at scale. I mean, that really is my strength. If I do anything extremely well, one is communicating, making complex financial concepts and different topics simple for the average person to digest. That's why, I've been really good at as a real estate coach and mentor, but just building systems that don't break a scale, allowing yourself to, in fact, I got it to the point where I don't even build a system if I can't imagine it working at 100x. So even when I'm just getting started, if I'm doing something new and building a system, if it won't work at 10x, I don't even continue with it. I'll just scrap it, come up with a new system. And when you do that, you will scale faster, because everything you build will have a scalability underlying it.
Nice, man. I love it. All right. Second to last question here is about a lesson learned. Not every deal goes perfectly like we thought it would. Sometimes things go south. So what was the deal that went south for you, and what was the lesson you learned from it?
Probably when the contractor ran out with 40, 50 grand in the middle of a rehab deal. And the lesson was, one, to understand the contractor game. If you get a number that's too good to be true on a rehab budget, it ain't true. It's part of the game, because then you're locked in on a price where you can't shop it around. You can't shift gears, because nobody's going to get this rehab done for 50K. It's 100K. So that's a tough lesson to learn. But the other wrinkle to that lesson is you have to know what you're doing. You have to get mentorship. Just like you said, you have to know where you're investing. My mentor taught me before I even started, buy where you know, rent to who you know, and you'll always be successful. Meaning only invest in locations where you have some degree of familiarity, or you grew up in a neighborhood like the one you're investing in, or work with somebody who did and does meet that criteria. So you just learn that you have to take control. You have to learn this game because it's an unforgiving game. You can get punished in this game with that ignorance tax. It's very severe, and you don't want to pay it.
Yeah. And especially on the contractor side, we learned, it was actually my own personal residence. We learned that the lowest price is usually, especially if it's too low, it's not a good sign. You don't want to go with them. They're going to do
You're not a lucky
job.
duck. You're not the guy, and the universe is not blessing you. It's a warning sign. It's a red flag. The cost of construction is the cost of construction, and it's national for the most part. So you can't shortcut it.
Yep, for sure. All right, that leads us to the last question. This is for the listeners. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you. What is the best way for them to do that?
You can find me on Instagram, Brian Grimes _247 CFU for the 24/7 Cash Flow University. On TikTok at Grimes Estate. You can find me on YouTube, Brian Loves Cash Flow. That's easy to remember because I love cash flow. On LinkedIn, Brian Grimes Real Estate, you'll find me. All of that backtracks to a a free real estate training that I put together for you guys on www.workwithgrimes.com/cashflow, workwithgrimes.com/cashflow. Free real estate training that'll show you how to acquire properties for pennies on the dollar all across the country. You don't want to miss out on that free offer.
Perfect. I will put that link in the show notes. So if y'all want to reach out, just click the little more in the description. It'll pull down the full description. In there, you can find Brian's link. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, Gabe, at therealestateinvestingclub.com. And if you guys want to support the show, all we ask, give us a like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.